Around the World Lit Audio. The Stranger by Albert Camus. Part 1. Chapter 2. Full narration script. Channel intro. Welcome to Around the World Lit Audio, the greatest novels ever written, from every corner of the world, in English. New chapter every week, free to listen. Chapter recap. In Chapter 1, Meursault received a telegram telling him his mother had died. He took the bus to the old people's home in Monde. He sat through the night with her closed coffin, drank coffee, watched the old people along the wall, and felt nothing he was expected to feel. The next morning he walked behind her coffin in the brutal Algerian heat. Then he took the bus home, and went to sleep. His mother was buried yesterday. Part 1. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. He woke the next morning and remembered that it was Saturday. This was good. Saturday meant he did not have to go to work. He had Sunday as well. 2 full days with nothing required of him. No desk to sit at. No forms to process. No colleagues to navigate. He lay in his bed for a while and looked at the ceiling, and felt the particular blankness of a morning with no obligations, which was not unpleasant. He decided to go swimming. The beach was not far. He walked through the streets of Algiers, in the morning sun, which was already warm at this hour, and found his way to the municipal baths. The water was clean and cold, and he swam hard for some time, moving through it with the focused pleasure of a man whose body is working well and who notices this. When he came out of the water he nearly walked into a woman. Her name was Marie Cardona. He recognized her immediately. She had worked in his office some time ago, and he had found her attractive then, and found her attractive now. She was wearing a striped dress, and her hair was wet from swimming, and her face had the open, direct quality of someone who is not particularly interested in performing anything for anyone. She seemed pleased to see him. They swam together for a while. Then they floated on their backs in the sun, not talking. The water was very still. Above them the sky was the particular blue of an Algerian morning, a blue so specific and so intense that it seemed less like a color than a physical fact, something you could press your hand against. Meursault looked at it without thinking anything in particular. Marie asked him if he had been away. He said yes. His mother had died. He said it in the same tone in which he might have said he had been to the market. Marie looked at him for a moment. He could not tell what she was thinking, and did not try very hard to find out. They swam some more. Afterward they dried off on the beach, and Meursault noticed that Mary's head was resting on his stomach. He was not sure how this had happened. He did not mind. The sun was warm on his face, and the sand was warm under him, and there was a physical contentment in the moment that he found, in itself, sufficient. He asked her if she wanted to go to a film. She said yes. They went to see a comedy, a Fernandel film, the kind of film that is designed to be funny and is funny, and produces in the audience the response it was designed to produce. Marie laughed frequently. Meursault laughed too, sometimes. They sat close together in the dark, and afterward they walked back through the evening streets, and Meursault felt Mary's hand in his, and found it pleasant. She stayed with him that night. In the morning she was gone before he woke up. He lay in bed for a while after he understood this, not with any feeling about her absence, not with longing or disappointment, simply noting the fact the way you note the weather. She had been there. Now she was not. The day continued. He spent Sunday in his apartment. He stood on the balcony for a long time, and watched the street below. It was the kind of Sunday that Algiers does well, a Sunday in which the street is first busy and then quiet, and then busy again and then very quiet, as the day moves through its stages. Women in their best dresses. Men with slicked hair. Children running in the patterns children run when the adults are distracted. The smell of food from somewhere. The particular quality of Sunday afternoon light, which is different from any other light. Meursault watched all of this carefully and without attachment. He was not bored. He was not lonely. He was simply there, on his balcony, observing the street the way he observed everything, with the complete attention of a man who is fully present and the complete detachment of a man who is not particularly invested in outcomes. At some point a group of young people came out of a building across the street, young men and their girlfriends, laughing at something, arranging themselves for an evening out. They were loud and bright, and their happiness was the uncomplicated kind, the kind that comes from being young and healthy and with people you like and having nowhere in particular to be except here, which is enough. Meursault watched them until they turned the corner and disappeared. Then he went inside. He ate something. He could not remember what. He sat at his table for a while. He may have slept. By the time the evening came the street was almost empty, just a cat crossing from one side to the other with the purposeful indifference of cats, and then the street was completely empty, and then it was dark, and Sunday was over. He thought, another Sunday done with. Mother is buried now. I'll go back to work tomorrow. Nothing has changed, really. He did not think this with grief or relief or anything that would require a name. He thought it simply as a fact, the way one notes the end of a season. He went to bed. He slept well. In the morning he went back to work, and his boss, Monsieur, a man of no particular qualities except a consistent desire to seem more important than he was, asked him how he was doing. Meursault said he was fine. His boss nodded with the expression of a man performing sympathy, which is different from the expression of a man feeling it. Meursault sat at his desk and began working through the papers that had accumulated in his absence. He was good at his job. He processed the papers efficiently and without error, and by mid-morning had caught up with everything he had missed. There was a particular satisfaction in this, the clean feeling of a task completed, of a desk cleared, of things returned to order. At lunch he ate in a small restaurant, near the office where he usually ate. The patron, a heavy woman with gray hair, and a manner of looking at you, as though she was calculating something, seated him at his usual table. He ordered his usual meal. It was fine. He ran into Emmanuel on his way back. Emmanuel was a colleague, a large, cheerful man with the relaxed manner of someone for whom the world presents no particular problems. They ran together for a while to catch a passing lorry, and climbed onto the back of it, laughing, and rode it for a few blocks before jumping off. Meursault felt good after this. Not happy exactly. Happiness was a word that implied a state distinct from other states, a peak above a baseline, and Meursault did not operate in peaks and baselines. He felt simply good, the way a body feels good after brief exertion in good air. He went back to work. In the afternoon a thought occurred to him. It occurred to him that nothing had changed. His mother had died. He had been to the funeral. He had come back. He had gone swimming. He had gone to a film. He had slept with Marie. He had watched his street on Sunday. He had gone back to work. The sequence was entirely unremarkable. It was the sequence of a life continuing. He was not sure whether this was the right response or the wrong one. He was not entirely sure the question was meaningful. His mother had lived her life. She had ended it. He was living his. He would end it too, at some point, and someone would or would not feel something about it, and then they would continue as well. This was not philosophy. Meursault did not think in terms of philosophy. It was simply the way things were, observed without embellishment. He finished the afternoon's work and went home. On the stairs he passed old Salamano, his neighbor, a small bitter man who kept a spaniel. Man and dog had lived together for 8 years, and over those 8 years had grown to resemble each other in a way that was either touching or terrible, depending on how you looked at it. Both had patchy skin. Both moved with the reluctant shuffle of things that have been worn down. Salamano beat the dog regularly and the dog whimpered, and they continued down the street together, neither able to leave. Meursault watched them pass without comment. Then he went up to his apartment and ate, and went to bed. He thought briefly of Marie, before he slept, not with longing, simply as a presence, warm and recent, still slightly real. He thought she was funny. He liked her. Whether he liked her the way you are supposed to like someone, with the weight and intention that the word is meant to carry, he could not say. He fell asleep before he finished the thought. Chapter Transition. You have reached the end of Part 1, Chapter 2 of The Stranger, by Albert Camus. In Chapter 3, Meursault's relationship with Marie deepens, or rather, continues, which is the closest Meursault comes to deepening. He meets Raymond Sintes, his neighbor across the hall, a man with a violent history, and a problem with a woman who he believes has wronged him. Raymond asks Meursault for help. Meursault agrees. He is not sure why. He agrees to most things that are asked of him, because agreeing requires less than refusing. Chapter 3 is available next week. Subscribe to Around the World Lit Audio so you never miss a chapter. A new chapter arrives every week.